Hey, welcome in. It's an emergency mini pod. The Avs have extended Scott Wedgewood for another year. We're going to break it all down. I'm going to be joined by Meghan Angley here in just a moment. As always, I want to start by reminding you guys about our great friends over at RefiJet. Did you know that you could refinance your auto loan? Well, with RefiJet, you could save around $150 every single month, all with just a soft credit pull and zero hassle. Who wouldn't want to put a little bit of cash back in their pocket right now, especially as we head towards the holidays? Lower payments, flexible terms, maybe even some cash back in your pocket from your car's equity. RefiJet does the work. You get the savings. Start today at refijet.com/sports. You guys have been hearing me say it. The best way to support us here on this podcast is to go check out our partners, refijet.com/sports. Pay them a visit, see if they can help you save some money. They are the faster, easier way to refinance. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hey everybody, welcome in. Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley here on a Thursday afternoon. We just got back to the studio from Ball Arena, and Meghan, there is some breaking news once again coming out of the Avs front office. This time it's Scott Wedgewood, 1 year, $2.5 million. Meghan, you and I discussed this. I can't remember if it was earlier this week or the tail end of last week that, hey, this could be a possibility that the Avs would want to keep Scott Wedgewood in the mix here for at least one more year, maybe if not two. Broad strokes, initial thoughts, your initial reaction to seeing Scott Wedgewood won by 2.5.
I'm thrilled. It's a great piece of business, and it was one that I wasn't sure if the Avs would be able to get done. You know, the incentive for them to extend Scott Wedgewood was there, but I didn't know if Wedgewood would be incentivized enough to stay on or entertain the possibility of a starter job elsewhere, because I think that this has been a really impressive start for him. And it's been relatively consistent in the results too. Like, it might be a smaller sample size. You know, there are other years of hockey that have been played that teams could reference, but this has been such a strong start for Scott Wedgewood that I think in looking at the goaltending situation around the league, there are probably enough teams that would be interested in giving Scott Wedgewood a call and promising some more starts than Colorado could guarantee him going into next year, because they extended Mackenzie Blackwood, you know, last year for a decent amount of time. So that is their starter here, right? So I wasn't sure if that would deter Wedgewood from sticking around. So I'm glad, because this just bolsters the goalie rotation for the Avs to have two reliable guys that they can turn to on any given night who stay ready. You know, Scott Wedgewood, a backup last year, was ready to be a starter out the gate this year. And I think to stay ready, it's a credit to the work that Scott Wedgewood puts in. He's such a competitor. So I'm excited because it gives the team so much confidence playing in front of both of those goaltenders.
Well, and I mean, for the last number, and really, I don't even think you can say with the exception of 2021, 2022, because Darcy Kemper was added right before the season that year as well. It's been a while since the Avs have had this type of stability in net, and we talked so much about that heading into training camp this year. I'm like, wow, how nice that the Avs don't have to worry about that this year. Well, they just signed a deal that says, yeah, we don't have to worry about it next year either. From Scott Wedgewood's standpoint, because I think it's an interesting call out of, you know, would there be enough to lure him back, you know, to keep him in the fold here? And I thought, you know, what he talked about today, and we'll play it. We'll hear Scott Wedgewood's availability here in just a few minutes when we're ready for it. But, you know, he talked about the fact of, like, this is a good setup for me. Someone asked him, you know, something along the lines of what you were just saying, of like, hey, were you tempted to go out and potentially try to find something else? And he said, no, this is what I wanted. This is a place to win. This is a place where I'm going to get a healthy amount of starts. And I think that I actually really loved that call out from him, because I think that that's one, good self-awareness that, like, hey, I've been in this league a long time. As much as I'd like to be a starter, I don't necessarily know if I want to go somewhere where suddenly I'm going to be asked to be playing 65 games. Like, he made a choice that was right for him. And I just thought that was a really interesting call out from him of like, no, this is where I want to be. This is the right fit, the right city, the right team. And this spot makes a lot of sense for me. And I just don't think that can go overlooked because, like you said, I think there could have been some other parties that would be interested, but they weren't right for Scott Wedgewood. This was.
I think the stability around a team that's in a competitive win now window is really important because Scott Wedgewood did credit the team playing in front of him as part of some of that success that he's had here early on in Colorado. And the teams that are in most need of a starter that can give him lots of reps are probably in a tougher place.
Mm-hmm.
And similarly, if they are in a more competitive win now window, that might be shared starts anyways, and it's not so different of a situation than what he's going to get in Colorado, because he mentioned Mackenzie Blackwood, a 50 to 60 game guy. That's still 30 games guaranteed around there for Scott Wedgewood, and that's on track with what he's had the last few years. If he continues then to put up these types of numbers when called upon, going into next year, then he can continue to solidify this bid as maybe more of a 1A, 1B kind of guy going into next year with a good team playing in front of him. So really, I think he's just ensured that whatever this viewing window is, has been extended too. And that's not to say he's chasing opportunity outside of Colorado past this year, but I think the family planning aspect can't be understated because, he's got a little girl at home and wife is expecting another baby. A year from now, then it's good to have that kind of security that they know exactly where they're going to be one more year out from now. I imagine that's a huge breath of relief for the Wedgewood family.
Yeah. He's a guy who rents houses in cities he goes to because he knows that things can change. And so, to get some stability. And I want to go back to what you just, a phrase you just used that he also used, 1A, 1B. Scott Wedgewood kind of referred to himself as, hey, I'm in a good situation here to be in a 1A, 1B type setup. And I also was thinking, Jared Bednar has talked about this in the last few years. That's kind of the way the league is going. I'm a big believer in, I think you need your number one, especially come playoff time. I think you need to know if you want to be serious about contending for a cup, you need to have this is our guy. I don't think you ever want to be in a situation where, do we go with this guy? I didn't know if that was great. Because what do you end up with? Exactly what happened a couple nights ago when the Avs played the Edmonton Oilers on the broadcast. Every puck that hits the back of the net, what's the first cut? Right to the backup goalie watching the replay. And it's like, you just don't want that where it feels like they are competing with each other. And I'm totally with you. Like, I love the fact that Scott Wedgewood looks at this and says, yeah, we're in a 1A, 1B. He's going to get more starts than me, but I'm still going to get my nice, group of starts here. And I'm going to get my reps. I'm going to play for a winning team. And hey, you're going to have moments like what he's going through right now where he is going to be called upon to be the guy. And like you said, while I'm sure he's not looking ahead to, well, what am I going to do next? I'm sure his agent is saying, yeah, playing here, getting those types of starts, playing behind a team like this, having the opportunity to potentially go deep on some playoff runs, that will only spell good things for you with, future contracts, whether it be in Colorado or otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's a huge piece in all this. And the shout out too about playoffs. And I think we've talked about this with respect to Hellebuck and his regular season starts being perhaps too big of a workload that come playoff time, he's exhausted. And I think this even happens to Ottinger, who's leaned on so heavily in early playoff rounds that by the Western Conference final, he's exhausted. And so where I'm going with this too is when you don't have a need to play Mackenzie Blackwood every single night, you can afford to give your 1B those starts with the same amount of trust. I think that spells good things for the playoffs in particular, just because you have a rested goaltender and a trusted guy on the bench on a nightly basis. So I think it's huge to manage the workload in season as well. And Mackenzie Blackwood will benefit from that.
I think this is a fantastic point to bring up. 2013-14. I don't know if you remember back. Semyon Varlamov.
I wasn't born.
You're right. I'm so sorry. Semyon Varlamov. I think should have won the Vezina that year. He was outstanding. The Avs, I mean, played him every single night that they could. By the time it got to game 7 of that first round, you could tell he was worn out, slow to get up, thing that you could just tell he was tired. Connor Hellebuck, you and I were talking about it as that, as the wheels were falling off for him again in the playoffs. We were sitting there like, man, what is it? And we were like looking at things. We're like, oh, this dude plays 70 games every year.
Right.
Maybe that's why. Like you said, Jake Ottinger, we've had that conversation. Wow. Oh my gosh. She looks like Patrick Waugh combined with Dominic Hasek, combined with Martin Brodeur in the first round. And by the time he gets to the conference finals, he can't stop anything. And all the through line that all 3 of those examples that I've given, piggybacking off what you said, these are goalies that all play a ton in the regular season. Having a situation like this helps that. And I'm trying to find the comment here. Wedgie reminds me of Frankie 2.0. Having a guy like Scott Wedgewood that can not only help take starts away in the regular season to help keep a guy fresh. We saw the value of having a guy that you have confidence in to come in and start games for you in the playoffs. We saw why that's important en route to the Avs lifting the Stanley Cup in 2022. Pablo Francouz had to win all 4 games in the Western Conference Final. Having a guy that you feel you can lean on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month at a time as your backup, that's massive.
Yeah.
Massive for a team trying to contend.
It's a luxury. And you shouted out Nabokov a little bit earlier. I think this is huge because Nabokov will have to come get adjusted to North American ice. And I think the best way to do it is to get a starter's job in Loveland and get acclimated to the pace that way. Because there is a true difference. And, he's had maybe a shakier start to this season. I'm not going to write him off as still the best goalie prospect in the Avs system that they've had in a long time. So really what that means is Nabokov's going to need time. So they can afford to have Scott Wedgewood another year. I actually think they need Scott Wedgewood another year.
Agree.
You don't want to be feeling any desperation to rush Nabokov to be ready. That just would not fall in line with how they've developed goalies through their system previously. It would be unprecedented. So really, you even just look around the league with young goaltending prospects. It's important for them to spend some time in the American League and get routine starts before anything else. So this just ensures that Nabokov can stay on track with his development pipeline. And Scott Wedgewood's a great guy to have on a nightly basis that they can turn to as well. So it's just a win-win.
No, I completely agree. And that was the last thing I wanted us to talk about before we heard from Scott was the Nabokov of it all. I think this is right on pace. And honestly, had they given Scott a 2-year deal, I wouldn't have batted an eye at that either.
Actually, same.
Because the way I see it, Megan, is Nabokov's going to finish this season in the KHL. I think the expectation as of right now is that he'll come over to North America at the conclusion of that season. We'll probably split some starts with Trent Miner up in Loveland. And, we'll obviously see what happens for the end of their, season playoff stuff like that. Then I think next year it's kind of hey, Trent's been the guy. You're obviously a big goaltending prospect for the organization. I think that will kind of transform into a 1A, 1B in Loveland.
It did with Eustace when he first came over.
Yep. And so I think something kind of like that. And maybe it's Nabokov who's the 1A and Trent's the 1B. I'm not sure how that shakes out. And then I think, so that's next season. And then I think it's the season after that where you start really having the conversations
Nabokov's starting.
Nabokov's the clear starter in Loveland. He's the number one, no doubt about it. And he's starting to push. He's going to start to,
back-to-back games, he's starting both.
Right. He's probably going to get a piece of all 4 preseason games, right? Yes, he's starting back-to-backs in Loveland. As the Avs need, he's going to get that call-up, and can he get some starts, and how does he look? I think you're 2 years out from starting to have that conversation. And then in my opinion, Megan, it's not till after you're having that conversation that you really start making is he the full-time backup? And I genuinely do. I don't think it's till 2029, 2030-ish, right when Blackwood's contract ends, that and this is all under the assumption that Nabokov continues to progress at the way that he is and continues to take steps forward. It's not till then that you're really starting to have that conversation of, is this guy going to be pushing people out to take over the net? You look around the league with young goaltenders, that's not a completely, it's maybe even a little bit of a fast track, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, look at Dustin Wolf in Calgary. I'm glad that they didn't rush him to be ready, but they could have used him sooner than they actually started leaning on him. Kind of the same thing with Askarov in San Jose and Lukas Dostal in Anaheim. So
Archer Shilovs couldn't even make the cut in Vancouver.
He had AHL record-breaking shutouts in their quest to the Calder Cup. He was lights out and like,
now
that's your name.
We'll go with these injured guys instead.
We're good.
So let's hear from Scott. And then there's one other player that we did talk about early in the week, but because of my own fault, you guys haven't heard that. So we'll wrap up a little bit talking about Gavin Brindley. But here is Scott Wedgewood this morning after morning skate talking about his 1-year extension with the Colorado Avalanche.
How's it feel to sign that extension?
No, it's awesome. Obviously, I was hoping it was just like, in the back of my mind and things. We had talked about it in the summer, and then season started and obviously got off to a good start, and conversations were having, and I was trying to keep it in the back of my mind and just go to work and play for the team and things like that. But, obviously done on paper now, and obviously really excited about it.
What about a couple different teams? What excites you the most about being with Colorado?
Just a chance to win, obviously. Had that with Dallas, and then went over to Nashville expecting it to be there too, and tough situation at the start of for the team there, and then got traded here, and it's just been a perfect fit from getting here. Been warm, welcome from everybody top to bottom, from Kroenke down to the people who cut the ice here. It's been just a whole family type feeling, and I try and integrate myself with everybody, and it's just been a place that my wife and I felt at home with. So obviously just a great hockey team, all those guys in that room, a lot of beers for putting me in this situation and things like that, but it's just been a good fit since I got here.
How excited is your wife?
Really excited. We were talking last night, it might have happened, so I haven't even had a chance to, she'd probably find it on social media before I can call her. So we got it done right before skate started, and then obviously come in here, so I haven't had a chance to really talk to her. But last night there was a few things to finish up, and if we got there this morning, it was going to be done. So she's probably blowing my phone up, but parents are in town too, so it'll be really cool going home and seeing everybody after this.
You said that this was something you had discussed or wanted to do in the summer. Has this start kind of tempted you to kind of see what's out there, like in a starter's role, or was this always where you wanted to be?
Honestly, the start, it makes you think, and then I think if I'm a realist and look at it from all sides, right? So started to play well, and it's like, what could be if you really want to go down that path. And I was, my wife and I were sitting there one day, and I was like, honestly, if I'm around the league right now and you're looking at a team or a spot that you want to go to, where you have a chance to play with a really good team, and with Blackwood being a 50 to 60 game guy and getting 30 starts, I want my situation as a situation that I'm in. 33, haven't really been a starter, haven't been categorized as a starter, always want to be. It's never out of the question, but it was just a thought around the whole picture. Like if I came here from the outside, it's chance to play 30 plus games, chance to be on a really good team, chance at winning. So when you put it into that perspective, it's it's probably the best spot in the league to be a 1A, 1B with Blackie and everything that comes with it, and being here, it's a perfect situation. So kind of made that choice on it a lot easier.
33 years old, like you've been on good teams like Dallas as well, but 33 years old, your numbers are off the charts last year and this year. Like what has worked so well for you here?
The team, honestly, I think my game's developed. I've gotten a lot smarter. I've obviously experienced more and understand what works for me and what doesn't. But playing behind a contender, for what we consider ourselves a really high chance team at winning it. It's it's fun to play behind some superstars, and they're not coming at you, so you get the benefit of them on your side. But you have to do your job. It's not like every game is going to be 10 shots all from the blue line. You have to make saves and do everything like that. But I just think since I got here and the way it all kind of started, and talking with UC and Blackie, the confidence that the team's given me just to go out there and fit into the room and kind of joke and not feel like it's live or die every game. I've played on teams at the bottom of the league, and it's like if you don't show up and you give up 5, it's the end of the world. Or here if you make a mistake early, we can score a goal and ease you back into it. So there's just been a really calm feeling back there, and one it's a little bit of being experienced, and 2, you have a team that has a chance to win every night, and that's a real big confidence builder for a goalie to get out there and be like, I don't technically have to be perfect. I want to be, but you can also, get away with a few mistakes on this team, and it's really just kind of eased me into, just controlling my mind and controlling myself out there.
So that's all stuff on the ice with the team. How big of a difference does it make just for you day to day in your personal life to have, like you said, an ideal setup, a team that you like, a team that you have a chance to win, where when you leave the rink, you don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, no, it's honestly huge, especially with a kid at home now. It's like you go home, and before it was you'd sit there and I'd think about it a lot, and now it's like, she's all I think about going home, and we have another one on the way, and there's a lot of life stuff that's happening as you get older, and it's obviously super exciting, and you think about money and things like that and all that, and you start painting these what if pictures and where you want to go and do and everything. So just go home and have a good situation. Everyone's healthy. It's all you can ask for, and we've really fit in. I was at Trader Joe's last night, and a guy walked up, and we talked goalie gear for 5-10 minutes, and he was just like, "This is the coolest thing ever." And it was just, a random guy in the meat section at Trader Joe's. So, big hockey city. The fans have really, taken to me. I've been able to be my, my personality and show it, and the wedgie chants and all that stuff here. It's, you can't not feel like you fit in and feel welcomed by everything. So, yeah, we like the outdoors. We love the walks. I mean, the weather here and everything, situational wise, it's been, honestly, like I said, a perfect fit, and starting to obviously be home.
You said on TNT Tuesday that you memorized the lines of all your opponents and their handedness. How long have you been doing that?
Something I started in Dallas. They had Ben Bishop would come in as kind of like an advisor, and he was really big into just videoing every goal that had been scored by the opponent within that week or whatever his setup was, and it was trying to just how much info is too much and how much helps you. And it was just one of those things where I always felt like if I got scored on backdoor and there was like a pass that got made to a one-timer and he scored, and you look it back and you kind of always go like, could I have had it, should I have had it, or there's no chance. It's just the way you break it down. And there's times when it's like, okay, a guy passes to me one time, and it's like, if I would have known he was a righty half a second sooner, I would have made an adjustment. And it's like you get caught in some of those situations. Like even take last game, that Carlson goal, he's a lefty in front, they go behind, hit him quick, and it's like, as I turned my head, I was a little bit slow to the play, but it's like, he's a lefty, I don't commit to my right post, and it's like, I should have known it. But you can't be perfect as much as you want to be, but that's kind of where I try and develop that mentality to give as much information to myself as possible, where you'll see goalies be like, oh, like they throw their head back in the air. It's just like, you look surprised, you were surprised, and if I can, eliminate that, it's one of the ways I kind of build confidence in knowing where everybody is.
Does Blackwood do that now too, after seeing him do that?
I'm not sure. He's just being the net. That guy's massive. So no, yeah, he's got different approaches. I don't know if he goes to that. Like the sheet's there, so if he looks at it, he looks at it. But we haven't really communicated that much on it. He's a different style, but he reads the game really well and things like that. But he's a little bit more of a boxing frame, where I feel like, not that I'm small, but I like to play at the top of my paint and use my feet a lot more. And to do that, you have to be maybe half a step ahead of what could happen next.
There's a lot of leaders, and I'm sure vocal guys in that room. But are you someone that you felt like you can kind of settle into being a leader and impart some of this wisdom on some of the younger guys? Yeah, I find that as a goalie, you're muted a little bit, right? Like you can't really yell at them for any reason on the forecheck or the back check, or they turn a puck over. Like I've always had the mentality that even if all 5 of our guys fall and they pull the goalie and it's 6-0 and it goes in on me, and it goes in on me, and the team's really good. Like there'll be a turnover and guy will come over, hey, like my bad. I'm like, nah, like I cheated or played it wrong. Like we all take responsibility, and it's my net. It goes past me no matter how it goes in. Hits a shin pad on Burns and goes top corner in that one game. And he's like, I'm like, I cheated too. Like it doesn't. It's just we're all respectable of it. But I think my favorite thing in the room is just blending the top and the bottom of it, whether it's money or age, or one guy likes hunting, one guy likes video games. Like I just feel like I can wear a lot of hats and communicate in all facets there, and just be someone that if you got a question or a life issue and it's not the top of the board, you just want to talk. It just feels like that goalie position and you're a little weird. So it's more that than I feel like it is like the hoorah and amp guys up. I feel like I'm happy. I'm always there in a bright smile, and you can trust me back there. I'm not going to cause chaos. So it's not like you got to look over and be like, our goalie's psycho. Like we're worried about it. That's kind of the approach I have.
Last one for Scott.
Author Rebecca Yarros is in the building tonight. Have you finished the 4th Link series?
Finished? No, I got like 6 hours of the audio of the second one. So just had a nice chat with her and stuff, and got her process, and she's got a little bit of the goalie mindset, the way her process goes too. She's got a whiteboard and sitting there, and her eyes are going. Even the way she explained it, she looked like me on TNT. So it's nice to see other people get obsessed with their jobs too.
Nice to see other people be obsessed with their jobs. He had a fun moment there on TNT. I think above all else, Megan, I think he's a good guy for them to have around. I think a lot of what he talked about there with his mindset and, the way he views his role on the team and pucks getting past him. I think aside from his play on the ice, that's been outstanding to start this season. Just a great guy for this team to have right now.
I think they didn't know how much of a boost that could be in the locker room until they had it too.
Yeah.
Because I think you don't necessarily rely on goalies to be the ones to uplift the room specifically and be vocal in that way. But when they had 2 vocal goalies, they said, wow, this really transforms the dynamic in the locker room, especially missing some of that levity that Mikko Rantanen brought. To now have that represented in the goalies, and also Brent Burns, I think has completely changed just the feel around the room. It's a lot lighter because of it. And Scott Wedgewood, he's a big source of it too in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He's such a good connector, not just player to player, but honestly media to players as well. The way in which he's just so inviting and extroverted, I think has helped bring media a little more into the fold too.
Without a doubt, like I've been lucky to cover some really good, personalities and stuff in the last 10 years. You think you got Mikko Rantanen and Eric Johnson. Really, and there's even some guys that are more kind of under the radar. Andrew Cogliano is one of my favorite guys to talk to. This is definitely the player who I'm totally with. I think has been the most open of like, hey, come form a relationship with me, come get to know me. And I think it's been great. And for that reason, I'm happy he's coming back. 5 quick minutes. Let's just park here for Gavin Brindley. He gets his extension done earlier this week. It's 2 years, 8.6 or 8.75 ish is where the AAV comes in about. Maybe some people looked at it a little sideways saying, that's funny that he didn't take a raise in this extension. He gets a little bit of security. And on the heels of that, with the Val Nichushkin injury, he's going to immediately get a look in the top 6, slotting in for Val, playing next to Ross Colton and Brock Nelson there. Your thoughts, Gavin Brindley, $875 for the next 2 years.
Yeah, this was another really good piece of business for the Avs.
Excellent piece of business.
I'm so excited. He came over in that trade, Coyle Wood to Columbus, and I think people weren't sure what to make of him as a prospect. And if you look at his American League numbers from his rookie pro season, they were a bit of an anomaly compared to what he was doing at Michigan. And if you knew Gavin Brindley, though, going back to his draft year, this isn't an anomaly. And the production that he's having at the NHL level now, this is a lot truer to the player that he is. And it's because of how hard he works. The high commitment, high motor is why I thought he was a cultural fit for the Avs going back to his draft year. He's such a Jared Bednar player because he has an attention to detail on both sides of the puck. So it makes him easy to trust defensively. And then he's such a dynamic skater. We talked about this with the overtime goal and why he was leaned on in that moment. And it's because he is such a strong skater. It's not just the speed, it's in and out of traffic. I think it can get him out of some trouble. So I still think there's a big path to success for him in this league, as long as he continues to develop and be more positionally aware. And so Jared Bednar saying, sky's the limit, top 6 upside, not born from great circumstance, but we'll get to see some of that top 6 fit tonight. And I'm excited because he has that skill in his toolkit, having played with really good NHL caliber players at Michigan, that you never doubted that could be the case. But in trying to carve out an NHL role, he has had to adopt more of those depth qualities, including getting some reps on the PK. That was kind of the next step for him because he didn't kill penalties in Cleveland last year. So I think it says a lot about the trust he's earned, the fact that he has been getting some of those reps on one of the best penalty kills in the league right now. So I am excited for what the future holds for Gavin Brindley. I think he's just getting started. And I'm not surprised that he's having success at this level.
Yeah. I don't have much to add on it. I think you nailed it. I think he's a skilled player who has been able to come in and endear himself to Jared Bednar, which is not an easy thing to do for guys who have skill as a big part of their identity. And I think that to an extent, that has been a big part of his identity. And I think when you see him play, it's still there. It's still obvious. But being an undersized guy, being a guy with skill is his kind of hallmark. What he's been able to do in this system has been massively impressive, and good for him to get some security. Just made himself $1.6 million. And he did it quickly. So I think good for him. And I think it's a great bit of business for the Avs that, we've talked so much ad nauseum. People have talked about, well, you need some young guys to come through the pipeline and to be that young player on a cheap deal for a contending team. There you go. There's your young guy on a cheap deal that can come up. And again, I keep saying it. This is why, Megan, and I know you roll your eyes at me every year, and you're probably going to do it again right now. Trade every draft pick. If you aren't in a spot to contend, trade every draft pick. Who cares? The Avs, there's now multiple examples on this current roster. Logan O'Connor, Sam Malinsky, Gavin Brindley. They're young players that have been able to join the team on cheap deals to help them be competitive, and you didn't draft a single one of them. When you're in a window to contend, trade all the draft picks. You find those players other ways, and the Avs have done a hell of a job at doing it. Good for them. Good for Gavin Brindley.
All right. They've even hit on some of these late picks, like Taylor McCarr, a 7th round pick, getting opportunity with the Avs tonight.
Yep.
Justus Annunen, once upon a time, a later round pick for a goaltender too, that they were able to transform into Scott Wedgewood.
An asset. Yep.
So I think that the scouting department has recognized we might not have the high picks that we can turn into players right now at our disposal or in abundance, but we can hit on some of these late round picks, including Nikita Prishepov working his way back from injury, and, kind of carve out some NHL players from there, and then tap into the free agency market through trades, acquire players like Gavin Brindley. Because I do think the youth matters to an extent.
I do too.
I think Nate was on to something when he said you can't win with young guys.
Yeah.
But in that OT period, I think it was punctuated by like having some guys with their legs under them that have that energy and that youth as well. That matters a lot. There's something you said when we first talked about this that I wanted to bring up. You said that Gavin Brindley didn't need to come be Michigan Gavin Brindley out the gate. And I think that was why he struggled his first year pro, is he was trying to get Michigan Brindley to translate to the pro level right away. And NHL Gavin Brindley is just going to be different from what he was at Michigan, at least to start. And so I think he's had to sort of reframe how he views himself as a player and build confidence around that. And that, I think, is the biggest difference from one year to the next, why he's had so much more confidence in his game. I think it starts with the Avs putting trust in him and that clean slate, right? He was a part of that trade piece, so the Avs saw value in him very specifically. He talked about that in his availability too, why that kind of meant a lot to him. So further, I think this extension is an extension of the confidence that the front office has in Brindley and his future with this team, so that we said this in our other thing, but if he did get reassigned for a couple games, just to ensure he's fresh, to make sure that he can go play 20 minutes a night, he's not sitting in a press box as a 13th forward down the line. If Logan O'Connor's healthy, Val Nichushkin returns, if that's the room that we're in because of the flexibility with waiver exempt status, maybe that happens for a couple games this year, but Brindley knows he's coming right back up.
Yep. Yeah. This was your point. Yeah. When we talked about it a couple days ago, was that extension is just like or now adds to like Logan O'Connor will be back at some point. Yoel Kiviranta, we saw him get on the ice for the first time yesterday. Like, you're going to have some roster decisions. So if there's a stretch where Jared Bednar can send Gavin Brindley to the American Hockey League, and the other thing that just went through my head, and you'd feel bad for him a little bit. I'd need to look. Does the AHL have an Olympic break?
Oh, I feel like they might have to. They might have some players that are representing
smaller nations and stuff like that. But, either way, to have, if there's situations where the Avs are going to go a stretch without playing games, to be able to get Gavin in the AHL, to the point you made the other day, this just underscores you're coming back.
Right. You're coming right back.
You're fine, but go get some reps. Two things just really quickly to end. You've talked about this a lot. Gavin Brindley, the comment here from Bama Metcalf. Gavin Brindley reminds me of Lecky. You've talked about that recently. And then the last thing I wanted to add, and we'll get out of here after this, the Colorado Avalanche next year. This has been a big key to their cap juggling. Next year, we'll have 7.75 committed to goaltenders. That's less than Vegas. That's less than Dallas. That's less than LA. Some of the other contenders, Edmonton doesn't have any goalies signed past this year, which is not really what they have right now anyways. So, there's...
Isn't that interesting though? I have no idea if Edmonton and Wedgewood, hey, want to come be our starter next year? No idea. But that seems conceivable. And that's a team that could and should be in a competitive window. But I don't know, Wedgewood weighed all of this and still decided on Colorado.
Yep. That's going to do it, guys. Mini pod, 35 minutes. That's mini for us.
Yeah.
Meghan Angley, Jesse Montano here. We got Ashley and John behind the glass today. That'll do it. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back at it with a regular pod tomorrow. We got game coverage coming your way tonight. Avs, Scott Wedgewood, 1 year extension. He'll be staying in Denver. Gavin Brindley, 2 years. Avs are getting business done. Jack Drury next on that list. We'll talk to you guys tonight. Have a good one. Bye.